Lesley Hazleton, the First Muslim, The Story of Muhammad. Welcome to the enthralling biography of Muhammad in Lesley Hazleton's The First Muslim, The Story of Muhammad. You're about to embark on a journey that explores the life of a man who was a fatherless child in Mecca, nurtured by a Bedouin wet nurse, and suddenly became a prophet of God at the age of 40. This summary will explore the different challenges he faced as an introverted person, the split between his people, the significant journey to Medina, and the eventual unification of Mecca and Medina. Get ready to delve into the formation of a great religion with a gripping narrative that's sure to captivate you.
Muhammad's unusual beginnings. The story of Muhammad's ancestry and birth is a tale of sacrifice, fate, and divine blessings. Muhammad's grandfather, Abd al-Muttalib, found a sacred spring that sparked envy from his tribe, leading him to make a vow to sacrifice one of his 10 sons, Muhammad's father, Abdullah. However, fate intervened and the son's life was spared through a kahina's advice. Muhammad was conceived on the same night Abdullah's life was spared, but tragedy struck when Abdullah died on a trade expedition the following day. Muhammad's childhood and early life in the desert. Muhammad, the founder of Islam, spent his early years in the desert wilderness under the care of a Bedouin wet nurse named Halima. Born in Mecca, Muhammad was considered an orphan as his father had passed away before his birth. Halima took Muhammad as a foster child despite Muhammad's mother not being able to pay her. While in the desert, Halima's family's cattle produced huge quantities of dairy despite a time of drought, which was seen as a blessing. When Muhammad turned 5, he had a remarkable experience where 2 angels opened his chest, removed a black speck, and returned his heart, which he saw as if he was outside of his body. Halima brought Muhammad back to Mecca, fearing that he had been taken by an evil supernatural creature. Muhammad grew up as an outsider in patriarchal society until the age of 40 when his life changed. A prophet's calling. Muhammad's encounter with God's messenger on Mount Hira became a transformative moment that would shape the course of Islam. After hearing God's message through the angel Gabriel, Muhammad found the courage to recite the holy word, become the messenger of God and compose the first words written in the Quran. Although Muhammad initially doubted his sanity, his wife Khadija helped him overcome his fears and become a powerful orator. It was a moment that would change their lives forever and signify the birth of a new religion. In this way, Muhammad's experience is an example of how sometimes, life-altering moments can also be the most difficult and why having faith is necessary for such moments. Muhammad's dark night of the soul. Muhammad's faith was put to an extreme test after his first revelation, and he waited for 2 years in doubt and despair. This period of gloom and abandonment is known as the dark night of the soul. Muhammad eventually received further revelations that emphasized the importance of preserving the natural world and taught him the value of patience. God was preparing him for the trials ahead. Muhammad's journey to prophethood. Muhammad, initially an introvert, was tasked by God to spread his message but faced opposition from his own clan. He began by reciting revelations to his wife, Khadija, but was instructed by the angel Gabriel to share them with his friends. To do so, he hosted a dinner and recited but faced a rude refusal from his uncle, which disrupted the gathering. Nonetheless, he hosted another dinner the next day where he recited the revelations without interruption. Despite his efforts, the new faith divided his friends and family, and tribal rules prevented many from accepting his command to obey his representative, Ali, who became Muhammad's sole supporter at first. Muhammad's message. Muhammad faced opposition when he began spreading God's word, especially when his revelations discussed politics, favoring the poor and oppressed. Young people and marginalized members of society embraced his message, while those in power opposed it. Over time, the opposition led to his clan's partial exclusion from Meccan society. Despite some clans participating in the boycott, loyalty to family bonds forged over centuries trumped orders from leaders. Muhammad's journey to Medina. Muhammad and his followers faced opposition from their own people in Mecca, leading them to seek support in Medina. They formed a military bond with the Medinan tribes and migrated, but not without resistance from the Meccans. Muhammad faced resistance from his own people in Mecca, with some even hurling garbage at him and cursing his name. Realizing that he needed to seek support elsewhere, 6 pilgrims from Medina who were convinced by his teachings invited him to Medina to be a conflict mediator during the traditional Hajj pilgrimage. Soon after, 72 clan leaders pledged their allegiance to Muhammad, and the Medinan tribes formed a military bond with his clan to protect each other from enemy aggression. Despite opposition from the Meccans and difficulty in convincing tribal people to leave their land, Muhammad and his followers migrated to Medina. However, some faced resistance from their families and were forced to return to Mecca. This led to deep rifts between the tribes that needed to heal. The unification of Mecca and Medina. After several battles between the tribes of Mecca and Medina, Muhammad decided to reunite the cities through a pilgrimage to Mecca. When he arrived, the Meccans had no choice but to agree to a truce for the next 10 years, and the tribes were given the option to follow Muhammad or the Quraysh leaders of Mecca. This pilgrimage was a turning point towards Muhammad's eventual victory in building support for his faith. One more short battle was fought before Mecca and Medina were united under Muhammad's rule. With the recognition of all the people in the region, he became the leader of a new religion, Islam.
To wrap up our journey through the first Muslim, the story of Muhammad, we've learned about the humble beginnings of a fatherless child who went on to become the prophet of Islam. Muhammad faced countless challenges on his path to enlightenment, from the initial doubt and dark night of the soul to reconnecting with the people of Mecca and forming the foundations of the Islamic faith. Armed with the knowledge of this powerful story, we hope you have gained greater insight into the personal and spiritual growth Muhammad went through in spite of numerous ordeals. As we marvel at the life of this extraordinary man, it serves as a reminder of our resilience and our capacity to unite others through empathy and compassion.